city, a little town where I'm from, where everybody's southern raised, just as good as they come. Backwoods and Macioke and mud holes, and back then we only ate what the farm grow. Man, I miss some days how we played on them dirt roads, and out of towners came with respect, cause they know we all close. Yeah, southern pride, toting gun folks. Welcome to my city, I-75 South, just north of Live.
I'm from a city called Austin, Georgia, right on the border of Florida. I was raised on these dirt roads, mud tires, skin backwoods when they ride this small town living, yeah. Now welcome to my city, Title Town, 229, turn it up so they can hear it loud. We get it up with big trucks and heavy keys, pretty girls with moonshine and whiskey.
It's nothing like our dirt roads, you can bet that, son. I'm from a city, by any means, we gon' protect our guns. I hang with the rednecks and geekies. We get up in big trucks in the backwoods like Indians and teepees. This the home of the mighty, mighty Vikings. Wildcats, blazing, Title Town license. Winners, pretty girls with country grammar. When I say about Austin, Georgia, I ain't talking about Atlanta. This a different type of city, where the woods are pretty, but get gritty. You hear me? What you know about that 229? You can find us on the Florida, Georgia line, where I reside.
I'm from a city called Austin, Georgia, right on the border of Florida. I was raised on these dirt roads, mud tires, skin backwoods when we ride this small town living, yeah. Now welcome to my city, Title Town, 229, turn it up so they can hear it loud. We get it up with big trucks and heavy keys, pretty girls with moonshine and whiskey. Moonshine and whiskey.
Some folks really don't understand how important it is and never forget where you came from. You know, when I say Lowndes County, man, I mean Lowndes County.
I'm from a city called Austin, Georgia, right on the border of Florida. I was raised on these dirt roads, mud tires, skin backwoods when we ride this small town living, yeah. Now welcome to my city, Title Town, 229, turn it up so they can hear it loud. We get it up with big trucks and heavy keys, pretty girls with moonshine and whiskey.
What's up, Lowndes County, and welcome to the weekly celebration of our community. Welcome to the Viking Nation Live. I'm your host, Larry Godwin. Before we get cranked up, I'm talking fully cranked up. Let's thank our sponsors. All right, let's go ahead and get that done to make everybody happy. Because I want to go ahead and thank these guys and fulfill my obligation, because we have a lot to talk about tonight. There's not a minute to waste. So first of all, I want to thank Pepsi of Valdosta for producing some fantastic drinks, which I am enjoying a little bit of it right now. And that is Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Rockstar, Mountain Dew Energy. And if you want a little bit of spark in your life, try their drink, Mountain Dew Spark, as well as their newest lemon and lime drink, Starry. So it's not, I guess it's not so new anymore. It's been out over a little over a year now, I think. But anyway, welcome, not welcome, but also thank you so much to Kyle Conger at White Oak Investment. He does a great job for me. I brag about him every single week. I hope that you've had the wisdom enough to at least give him a phone call if you're not working with a financial advisor yet. Kyle can be that guy for you. If you're interested, give him a shout at White Oak Investment at 229-850-8848. He also sponsors the White Oak Investment comment line, of which you guys go ahead and feel free to start commenting away. Let me know what you thought about that game last week, what you think about the game coming up this week as we roll through these sponsors. We want to thank Tim Neesmith, longtime friend of the show. He's got a company called A Shade of Perfection where he produces custom shades and blinds. If you want to make your house beautiful, start with the most obvious thing first. That's what people see when they roll up in front of your yard. and that's your window treatments, custom shades and blinds. If that is something that you need or at least thinking about, give Tim Neesmith a call at 229-251-3479. He's also got a website where you can inquire about his services at ashadeofperfection.com. Thank you to the Migraine and Spine Clinic of Valdosta. These guys are your certified headache medicine specialists. They are Josh Batson and Justin Haskin. They offer a variety of migraine and back pain treatments because there might be some folks across town after their game last week. They might be suffering from some migraines. Guys, if that's the case, go give you boys a shout. Josh Batson and Justin Haskin, they are your certified headache medicine specialist. And we want to thank Chandler Kudik at AquaWorks Pool Company for offering one of the best pool cleaning services around, hands down. If you have a need for this service, give Chandler a call at 229-415-0752. And we want to thank these guys, Imperial Auto Sales. That's Tony Green and Trey Hatcher. They've got two great locations to service your automotive needs. One's on Ashley Street, one's on Bay Tree Road. Imperial Auto Sales for all your automotive needs. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors. And like they say in the show business, on with the show. And with that said, one of our super fans, regulars, is Chase Garnta. How you doing, Chase?
What's up?
Nothing much, man. Listen, I'm much cooler tonight than I was last Saturday afternoon. That's for sure. What you think about that?
Yeah, it was hot.
It was hot.
I have nicknamed that game the Inferno 3000. That's what I've been calling it all week. It was not Lounge versus Christ School. That was the Inferno 3000.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Hey, let me go ahead and give our quote of the day before I forget about that, because I think that's just an important part of the segment of the show now. And so I like offering these little things, little sayings, motivational quotes, serious things that hit home, that kind of stuff, just to remind everybody that we are one community, a one lounge community, and we support everybody in this community, right? And so here's the quote of the day. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. You know who said that? Martin Luther King Jr., one of the best quotes of all time. So anyway, as you are going throughout this community, make sure you're not hating on people. We got too much hate in this world, man. Right? So anyway, I thought that was a poignant quote of the day. Hopefully we'll find a sponsor for that segment pretty soon. But with the football season officially underway, before we start talk about lounge stuff, okay, I like to also interject some things that affect high school football all over the state, right? So one thing that I want to do, let me go ahead and cue this up because I think you guys will appreciate this. Let's see, where is it? Here we go. All right. So do you remember in the off season, we talked about the GHSA and some things that are about to change. One thing that's going to be changing this year is in the state championship games, they're going to start using instant replay, right? But no one really knew, Chase, what that was going to look like. Well, now we know what it's going to look like because this past week in the Corky Kell Kickoff Classic there at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, in one of those games, they actually ran a live test during that game. So I'm going to show you what the procedures are because this actually happened in a game this past weekend. All right. So here we go. So let me go ahead and play this.
So the call on the field is going to be touchdown.
Looks very familiar.
Into the end zone,
familiar with a college game, right?
For a touchdown. That's the call on the field. And now they're going to go over to the headsets.
Look at this.
And check with the booth. So our first review, this is not a challenge. No challenge has been thrown.
This is still exciting.
Yeah.
To be a part of this.
Making history here today, Chris.
Well, this is a critical play. Obviously, Coach Morgan's down there. He wants to watch it too, right next to the official. He's trying to get his eyes on that.
All right, I'm going to fast forward through this
moment. This is here. Well,
resulting in a touchdown. That play is under further review.
So I don't like that part. They took a long time just to tell the audience the play is under review.
He was telling the stands what the call on the field was. Now he's going into the replay.
So ball is out right there, and you see Winchester trailing on the play, dives and covers it in the end zone after Garnett coughed it up, got hit by 3 guys and gave it up, and then Winchester was there to jump on it.
That was good play by Jalen Frazier on the defense. You can see he went right after the football on that replay to knock it out.
So you're right. It has not been reviewed yet. Now it's being reviewed.
I think the referee just wanted to tell the stands, the fans, what was going on here. Now he's
okay, so here comes the call.
Here comes the call.
After video review, the call on the field is confirmed. Touchdown.
There you go.
There you go. Just like that. Just like the college does it, right?
Look pretty similar to what we see every Saturday.
Yeah, so no one is going to be confused. If you're a college football fan, you're used to seeing that procedure, and it looked like they basically lifted the procedure straight from the college rule book, right? So I don't think it's going to harm anything. It took basically a couple of minutes. I think they could have sped it up a little bit because they took about 30 seconds just for him to put the headsets on, so then he can later announce that they're reviewing the play. So
they'll work it out.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly why they did that during this Corky Kill Classic, just to make sure that, hey, we wanted to run through it at least one time before we went live with this thing. So they'll use that experience, that test, and go back to make sure they got all the procedures and communicate it now to all the officiating crews and associations across the state. So come championship game time, everybody will know what their role is when a challenge is made. So I thought that was pretty neat. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the games from last week. Before we get into the lounge stuff, let's recap some of the other games in the region. We don't have to go into detail about them, but since they're part of Region 1-7A, I wanted to make sure we at least covered the scores of these games. Now, Valdosta's traveled all the way up to I can't remember what Canton, Ohio, to play the Massillon Tigers in the Hall of Fame game up there. I'm not exactly sure what they called their kickoff classic, but they traveled all the way up there, and it was an intriguing plot line. You got two of the winningest programs in the country in Massillon and Valdosta taking on each other. Now, it looked like early on, Chase, that Valdosta was going to come very prepared. They jumped on top of the Tigers early. And then Massillon it just looked like they were just grinding and just wore Valdosta down. So does that surprise you, the margin of the outcome there? And the final score was 28-17.
I'm sure the amount of travel that Valdosta had to endure for that, and that far on buses or however they got there, that's a long way to go for some high school kids in a high school football game that's not used to traveling that far. So I'm sure there's some lag, some holdover there maybe. That Massillon team they were big, they were physical. They were very talented on both sides of the football. So, hats off to Valdosta. It was a game for a half. After halftime, Massillon just outpowered them. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah, they really did, man. They really did. So, hey, some of you already know the name of the game, and that is, if you want to go ahead and enter the drawing for this week. And this week we're actually giving away 2 T-shirts. Right now, we don't have all sizes for all people. Okay, so if you win, I'm going to contact you and I'm going to ask your T-shirt size. And if we have them, then we have them. If we don't, then I'm going to ask you to take them anyway. Maybe you can give them away to a family member or whatever. But we'll try to get as close to your size as possible. Now, we don't have extra large. I'm just telling you right now, we just don't have extra large. But if you would like to go ahead and enter for your chance to win, Go ahead and put it up on the screen now. Go ahead and type in #1Lounge, just like you see on the screen. No spaces, all one word. #1Lounge. And that'll automatically enter you in for that drawing that we'll have at the end of the show. So, with that said, let's talk. Let's continue with this Region 1-7A recap. So, you were saying about the Massillon and Valdosta. I was surprised. I honestly was, because I thought what surprised me the most was I thought Valdosta's defense was a shutdown defense. I thought it was one of the top defenses in the state, if not in the country, just because of the returning personnel. But Massillon, granted, they are a very, very good team, but they didn't do anything fancy. They just ran right at Valdosta, and I was surprised at the chunks of yardage they were picking up on that defensive front for the Wildcats. Did that surprise you?
A little bit, but I told you going into the season that Valdosta's defensive front wasn't going to be as good as it was last year. There was some issues, some extenuating circumstances. I think Brantley is the only one that returned from that defensive front. So, that's a big loss. Missing those other two key pieces. So, I thought they would backfill, with some younger personnel. But it's just one of them things, man. You went up there with a plan, you executed the plan for a little while. They answered back. Just, that's football.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the Colquitt game. Now, this one also surprised me. I knew Colquitt County is going to be good because we talked about it just about every week during the offseason, it seems like. Almost to the point where our fans were getting on to me on this show how much I was talking about Colquitt County. But you saw how special that Packer team can be this year in the way they manhandled the number one team out of South Carolina in Dutch Fork.
Shocked as far as what Colquitt was able to do. We know what Colquitt can do. We saw it last year.
Chase, there is something wrong. There is something wrong with your mic. Whenever you stop talking and then you start talking again, there's like a 2-second delay before we hear what you're saying. So I don't know if you have AirPods in or what's going on, but something's going on with your mic. Yeah, so we can't.
Till like 2 seconds in, right?
Yeah, your lips start talking and we can't hear you until like 2 seconds later. But it serves you right. Listen, I need help from you know what's coming. I need help from our Viking audience to help me with something, to teach Chase a lesson, because this is Thursday night and this is the Viking Nation Live. And I understand that you have a new employer that you worked for about a year, and their colors are their colors. But you got to remember, this is Thursday night, and you can't be wearing a yellow shirt on the Viking Nation Live. What is wrong with you?
This is not yellow. This is not yellow. This is safety bright green.
Listen, if you are in the audience and you want to give Chase grief for his safety green looking Wildcat shirt tonight, please do feel free to do so.
Not gold, and those colors across town are black and gold. In fact, if you look on their website, it specifically says black and gold.
Yeah.
But anyways, no, I wasn't surprised at what Colquitt County could do at all. I really wasn't. They are very, very talented. Nicor and Nico, they are a superstar tandem that just can score on anybody. I mean, It's just a matter of when they want to score. And unfortunately, I do think that as good as Colquitt is, and as good as Colquitt appears to be, I believe there's one team in the state that just is better.
And that's Buford? Yeah, I knew you were going to say that, man. But I need to hold on, bring up something right here. Yeah, there it is. I was just getting ready. Okay, so now let's talk about the Camden game. I don't know if you heard about the Camden game, but Camden came out pretty strong as well. Well, they were actually down at halftime, and then they ended up coming back and defeating Columbia. This wasn't Columbia County out of Lake City. This was Columbia in Georgia, I think. Not quite as strong of a team, but Camden did beat Columbia 23-12. Now next week, Camden will host Brunswick. Colquitt County will host Stockbridge. Lowndes will host Gadsden County, Florida. Richmond Hill, you got to watch this game. Richmond Hill will host Ware County next week. Ware County is a very strong team, albeit it's a 5A school, but they're a defending state champion and a very, very, listen, if you're a Lowndes fan, you know how good of a team Ware County has. And then Valdosta will travel. This surprises me too. Cook County is a AA school, and normally when a 7A program plays a smaller school like that, you're going to require that smaller school to travel to your state, even if you have to pay them to do that. But that's not the case here. Valdosta is traveling up to Adel to play at Cook County this Friday night.
That game could be a serious misstep by Valdosta if they ain't careful.
You really think so? I don't think so.
Look, man, that Cook County bunch can play. Especially, after the year they had last year, pretty decent playoff appearance. I like what Coach Slack has been able to do up there.
Yeah. Okay, so we've gotten some feedback from our fans on the White Oak Investment comment line. James Andrews says, "Come on, Chase, you know James well." Greg Maddox says, "Puke green, not safety green, puke green."
Yeah.
And then Franklin Webb says, "Take that yeller off. Don't do it right now." But he says, "Take that yeller off. The cats are black and yeller."
I don't like that.
Yeah. Okay, so Greg Maddox he's sticking his neck out there. He says, "Upset of the week, Cook over Valdosta." I think you guys are smoking something. If you think that's going to, I don't know if that's wishful thinking, Greg. Greg is a Cook County fan, so I can understand why he would say that. He's a Lowndes and Cook County guy. Wouldn't it be something if Cook beat Valdosta in a squeaker and then Berrien dominated Cook County this year, Greg? Wouldn't that be awesome?
That ain't gonna happen. I like your wishful thinking, but that ain't gonna happen. I did get some feedback from. I did a little research into the Camden game. I hear Camden still is unaware that the forward pass is now legal in football. I'm just saying, it has been made legal for years now. They might want to catch up.
Okay. Well, you got to be careful when you talk about Jeff Herron like that, because just when you know how that wing tee works, just when you think they're not going to throw it, they suck up those safeties, and all of a sudden they're sneaking a tight end down the field. They've hurt a lot of teams. They've hurt Lowndes plenty of times. Just that very play. It's been a number of years since Lowndes has run the wing tee, but I still remember that thing well. And we used to do that thing quite a bit. We would pound, and then all of a sudden we try to go over the top.
Coach Mack, we know where he got it from.
Yeah, absolutely. Greg says not going to happen with Berrien. You just wait, Greg Maddox. You just wait. The Rebels are going to walk the dog all over Cook County. Just mark it down right now. Travis Hart reminds us that a smaller school has beaten Valdosta before. That's true. And smaller schools have beaten Lowndes before. So it does happen. I
believe that team about 30 minutes south beat Valdosta a few years ago. A little town called Madison. Brooks County beat Valdosta it's more than a few years. Probably, I think when Rance Gillespie was still here. Brooks County came over here. Maurice Freeman brought that hammer and it really shocked everybody, especially Valdosta. And I think Robert Lindsay has it right. It hits the nail on the head. Anybody can beat anybody on a Friday night.
Dude, you're going to have to take out those AirPods because we cannot
Dude, I
hear
really
you.
don't think it's. I really don't think that.
Then I don't really know what it could be then. I'm not sure.
Did that get better?
And it's still doing that. So I'm not sure what's going on there.
Man, I don't know.
So
Technical.
anyway,
Welcome to the Viking.
we got to test this stuff next week. Okay. Brooks County did beat Valdosta. Madison County and Brooks, Greg Maddox says, okay, so I think it catches us up on. Okay, so Sterling Hobbs brings up an interesting point. He says it's a trap game for Valdosta if the Wildcats are not careful. I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be a trap game, Sterling, just because normally, now obviously for you non-football fans out there, a trap game is usually when you kind of overlook an opponent getting ready for bigger and badder opponents down the road. So you kind of take them for granted. And then that's when you get your feelings hurt unexpectedly, right? But I don't think this is going to be a trap game just because Valdosta just came off of a bad loss to Massillon, even though it's a really, really good team. So I think they're a little bit more ticked off than usual. That's usually what happens to a bigger school when you have a loss, right? You usually get a little bit more intense coming into that next game. So I think that's what's going to happen this week. I don't think they're going to take Cook County for granted at all. So that's why I think it's not a trap game.
I can respect that 100%. But I gotta agree. I think Valdosta, given the size of Cook County, I think Valdosta is probably thinking they're just going to go in there and steamroll them.
Yeah. Candace Marie agrees with. She says they are definitely overlooking Cook County. I think all of you are wrong. I think Valdosta beats them by at least 3 scores. That's what I'm thinking.
I just think you don't like Cook.
Well, that's a given.
There it is.
So let me go ahead and unequivocally say it this way. I love Byron Slack. I cannot stand Cook County. Just because I'm a Berrien Rebel at heart. That's why. So Greg, don't get offended. You knew that about me when you started watching the show.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, so Travis Hart says if Valdosta does lose to Cook, it's going to be a long season it could be. It could be, yeah. To start the season 0-2, it could be a very, very long season. Okay, so let's start talking about our program, the Lowndes Vikings. Okay, so before we do that, let's go ahead and set the mood, Chase. That's right. Get in and go. Get that bad luck shot. Man, I absolutely love that. And we're going to hear it for real this coming Friday night, right before kickoff. So
yeah, I was actually shocked that the band traveled to Colquitt in that heat.
I wasn't shocked that they traveled. And I was pleasantly surprised to see them not wearing their usual uniforms. I mean, they were dressed appropriately, shorts, T-shirts, hats to help to keep the sun out of their eyes, that kind of stuff. So I wasn't really surprised to see them there. I was pleasantly surprised to see that they were dressed appropriately. So way to go, John Bowman and the rest of the directors out there for having some sense.
Absolutely. And the crazies were out in full force, like mid-season form.
That's exactly right. So I wanted to give a shout out to our fans, and I've got to eat a little crow here. And I don't mind doing that. I want to say to our fans, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for doubting you, because I started this. I was in the mood during the summer, and I knew the games that were coming up, and I saw this game coming up at 4:00 p.m. It's going to be super hot, And remember, I kind of chastised our fan, challenged them. I said, listen, you don't travel like you used to. But boy, Chase, did they prove me wrong. And I'm glad to say it. Candace Marie, say it loud and say it proud. She says, I told you. And so, before that game last week, we had this show. Before that game last week, we had the show, last Thursday? And I reported that we had 204 tickets sold, and that was true. I mean, everything about that was true. But boy, did our fans show up at the gate, and they bought tickets and bought tickets and bought tickets. I have never seen so many our fans on the visitor side of McTharp Stadium. I'm used to seeing a lot of our fans there, but remember that section of the visitor side where you enter the stadium all the way down to that middle section where the lounge fans usually sit. It's usually full of Colquitt fans, and there were a handful of Colquitt fans there Saturday as well, but the majority of that lounge fans. So they took up that entire side, and I am so proud of the way you guys traveled there. So anyway, I'm hoping that this is a resurgence of the way that we travel on the road, because I got to tell you guys, it hadn't been this way for a couple of years now, probably 3 or 4 years now. But so I'm so happy that you guys made it out, even in that brutal, brutal heat. So I'm sorry for doubting you guys. Rain or shine, you guys reminded me that we are one Lounge and we back our program. So thank you so much. I want to go ahead and gladly eat that humble pie and say thank you so much. Tierra Battle. Let's go ahead and bring Chase back in. Tierra Battle says, I think Coach Carter era has people excited again. Yeah. I would agree with you, Tierra. Yeah, absolutely.
Very well could be. Very well.
Now, Candace makes an interesting point. So if you are in the Lounge administration and you're watching tonight, you may make note of this. This is the first time I've heard this, Candace. So I don't know if I agree or disagree, but Candace brings up, she says the ticket office hours aren't really convenient.
I will agree with that.
I don't usually go up there to get tickets, so I really don't know if I agree or disagree with that.
Well, unless it's for Wintersville, I see what she's saying, because if you work, especially if you work at a busy office or you work where you don't really get the ability to run somewhere and do things throughout the day, it can be kind of hard to get up there when they're open.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's see. Travis Hart, check this comment out. He says, write it down. Whenever someone starts a sentence off with write this down, it gets my attention. So Travis Hart says, write it down, LG. We're going to be state championship contenders next year without a doubt. What about this year, Travis? Come on, homie. What are you doing? I know, but listen, I'm just kidding. I know what you're saying. We've got a really, really good program that's up and coming, and a lot of people are expecting next year we're going to gel. But I think we've got components in place this year. If we start gelling at the right time, we're going to make we're going to be a serious team to contend with. That's for sure. Okay, so let's talk about this game before we get into the Gadsden County game. Let's talk, instead of the heat, let's focus on the game. Now, before we talk about the stats, I have to give a shout out. And that shout out goes to Christ School, because they brought down 35, 40 kids. Some of them played both ways in that heat. Did it really surprise anyone that they wilted so quickly in the second quarter? It didn't me. I mean, they had some big kids. They had big kids. They were very physical, talented, athletically. A couple of kids, I mean, that number 0, that wideout, I mean, he's going to be a D1 contender, no doubt.
Yeah, he could fly.
Yeah, absolutely, man. He was the total. You know who you reminded me of? A slightly taller version of Chase Belcher.
Yeah.
because Chase was that big bruising wideout in his senior year. And when he got his hands on the ball, it was very difficult to bring him down. And then you added speed on top of it. That guy, that number 0 for Christ School, reminded me a lot of Chase, just a little bit taller.
Yeah.
So, to compliment him, he had a couple of other wideouts that were pretty good, and a quarterback. Although quarterback is a freshman, made some mental mistakes. He had a pretty good arm as well.
Yeah, he threw a really pretty ball. I just think his lack of experience and him being a true freshman, and that probably being his first start in a big game and a big, playing against a big time program like Lowndes, especially when you're a school that's got 50 players.
Yeah,
you're looking across the field at Lowndes is basically a massive army that's over double your size. It's got to be a little bit intimidating. It really does. But at the same time, I mean, South Carolina, the heat's not that much different. So they should have been used to it, same way we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't really remember seeing Christ School really cramp a whole lot. So, I think I saw one kid go down one time with a cramp. So, kudos to their staff for having them boys hydrated and prepared. For the most part, I mean, that's hard to do, but, they did a pretty good job of staying hydrated and basically getting through the game as far as, no major injuries on either side. So.
Absolutely, man. So I wanted to go ahead and show you guys this, and that is the players of the game for last week. So congratulations to Smoke Fleming, offensive player of the game, Jaquan Thomas, and special teams is number 17, Carson Page. So again, offensive player of the game, Smoke Fleming, defensive player of the game, Jaquan Thomas, and special teams, Carson Page. Jaquan Thomas, man, where did he come from?
Man,
he was a ball hawk in that secondary. Just came out of nowhere, man.
Yeah. I mean, he set on a lot of routes. He did a good job of reading quarterback's eyes and knowing where he wanted to go. I think a lot of it was probably pre-snap reads, things they probably, maybe it's all on film, cues from last year's offense that may have gave some of it away. But that's the things you look at when you look on film. You look for cues, you look for tendencies, you look for the way they line up, where they like to go to, routes they like to throw. And he just a lot of them, man. I mean, he really did.
Yeah, he really did. So congratulations to that Lowndes defense. I think I'm going to say this. I think this is just an honest statement. Would you agree with the statement that our defensive secondary has been maligned for years?
Yes.
And that was a pleasant surprise, the way they performed on Saturday in that heat.
Yeah, it was definitely different for Lowndes. There's a few trouble spots that I saw, later as the game wore down a little bit. But I mean, we'll see what they got this coming Friday night, and we'll see if they continue to improve. I don't want to see that secondary think that they come out and got 5 picks and they can just settle on their, that all of a sudden we're a no-fly zone. You got to still continue to strive and still continue to grind out and get better.
Yeah. So Walter Thomas, he reminds us that Christ School State, they are not strangers to state championships. 2020 state runner-up. State championship 2020, state runner-ups 1977, 78, 86, 88, 2012, 2015, 2016, 2018, 2019. So this was a high-quality school, no doubt. The only issue with Christ School is they just did not have the numbers to compete with Lowndes in that heat. And if it's a 75 or 80-degree night, maybe they take us to the third quarter. But in that heat, their numbers, they wilted pretty quickly. And so that's why you saw Lowndes just pull away pretty easily in the second quarter. That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah. And I was impressed by the how'd I put this? The fortitude of that young freshman quarterback, because he got hit, he got beat on a little bit by our defense, and the kid stood in there and delivered some darts,
Right.
Throughout the game. So, for him to just be a freshman, I really, really, really want to try to keep track of that young man and see how he progresses going through, because he really did throw a pretty ball. I just think he needs some different tools to be successful.
Yeah. So as good as the defensive secondary played, there's still a lot to work on. Just because, if you take a look at just pure stats, they still gave up almost 300 yards passing.
Mm-hmm.
To a freshman, albeit a very talented quarterback in Mason Holtzclaw, he was 15 out of 31, so little less than about 50% completion ratio. But those 15 completions were a lot of big plays, and so he ended up with 282 passing yards. And so that's still a lot. Now, to go along with that, he had 2 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, and that's a big, big deal. But so just those stats alone, you can see that our secondary does have a little bit of work on. Now, to give our secondary a breather, a break, I think our pass rush has to get better as well. It wasn't bad for our first game, but to really compliment and give that pass secondary a break, we've got to get pressure on that quarterback a little bit more often than we did. Now, it does help that they did have a very talented quarterback who got rid of the ball very quickly. He really did a lot of times.
Yeah, he did.
So if you have a talented quarterback that's got a quick release, it doesn't matter how often you blitz. He's going to beat you every time just because he knows where he's going and he gets rid of the ball quickly.
But I also think that some of our pass rush woes in this game, so to speak, might have been due to, and I know you're going to tell me, nah, no coach would do that, but yeah, they would. Was the fact that, we're playing in Colquitt's house. We got Colquitt coming up later this year.
I can't believe what I'm about to hear. I can't believe what I'm about to hear.
If I'm at and I'm Coach Anders, I am not putting that much tape for Colquitt just right out there in their house. I'm just not. I want to save something specifically for Colquitt.
All right. Even on the defensive side, I'm talking about a pass rush. You're talking about you're purposely holding back a pass rush.
Well, just think about it. If your blitzes are exotic and you're going to send this linebacker, or maybe send this corner, you don't want to put that. You don't want to show that.
Yeah.
You want to keep it as simple and as basic as you can and still win.
Yeah. Now, Wilbur, I'm going to push back on the Wilbur some. Wilbur says most of those interceptions was due to defensive pressures. I don't know about that. I don't know about that, Wilbur. A lot of times the dude was just getting rid of the ball and throwing it to three Lowndes guys waiting for the ball.
Yes.
So, but that's a point that's debatable. So I'll concede that to Wilbur. Okay, but we still gave up almost 300 yards passing, and my only point in this whole segment is we just got to get better at pass rushing because according to these stats, we had 1 sack and 2 hurries on the quarterback to a team that was forced to throw the ball.
Yeah, because they sure couldn't run.
That's right. So anyway, that's my only point. I think Coach Carter, if he was watching tonight, he would agree with me. We played well. There's things that we still have to work on, and that's why you play good teams like this early in the season.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about some good news. As far as Lowndes stats, last year, I don't know if you guys remember this, but last year in Marvis's first year as a starting quarterback, do y'all remember what his completion ratio was? Completion rate? Just give a guess.
I don't know, 45%.
Close. It was between 45 and 50%. And I was harping on him all year last year. In order to be considered a good passing team and a good passing quarterback, you've got to get that completion percentage up to at least 60%. at least 60%. The great quarterbacks are 70 to 75%, right? You know what his completion percentage was Saturday? 69%.
Yeah, I was going to say it had to be somewhere around 70%.
Tremendous improvement. He was 9 of 13 for 114 yards. I wish we would throw the ball a little bit more. Now, this is where I agree with you about what you said a while ago. I think we were holding back some because we didn't have to throw the ball a lot, right? Smoke and Road Dogg were pounding the rock, and you didn't have to throw the ball a lot. So when we had to throw, when we wanted to throw the ball, we threw it 13 times, completed 9 for almost a 70% completion. If he can keep that percentage completion rate that high all year long, watch out. He's going to be a heavily recruited quarterback.
I want to see him stretch the field a little more than what we're seeing with the little quick screens, quick slants, stuff like that. I want to see can our offensive line hold up to a pass rush and buy him enough time to set in the pocket.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what me personally, that's what I want to see.
Well, let's take a break from all this serious Lounge talk and say hello to our TCC/Blue Devil super fan, Cole Moore. He says, just want to stop by and say, go Jackets.
I'll give Cole that one. They playing them old Thomasville Bulldogs, the old city school over there. They got them this week. So yeah, by all means, go Jackets.
That is going to be a blowout. I'm just telling you. That's going to be a blowout. Now, Cole, I'm not saying which team's going to blow out the other team. I'm just going to say it's going to be a blowout.
Oh, I go ahead and call it. I say TCC wins by 4 touchdowns, bare minimum.
I think TCC wins by as much as they want to win by.
Yeah, that's a safe assumption. I mean, I hate to put it like that, but yeah.
I hope Will Palmer is not watching tonight. He's a big Thomasville Bulldog fan. So Smoke Fleming. Smoke had 21 carries for 111 yards, 5.3 average. Road Dogg Aleem Brown had 21 carries for 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. I forgot to say that Smoke had 3 touchdowns. Brown had 2 for a total of 5 rushing touchdowns. Marvis, now I was surprised to see this stat. Marvis rushed the ball 8 times for 35 yards. Now, most of that was when he was scrambling. Drop back pass, nothing was open, forced to scramble, that kind of stuff. I only bring that up, Chase, because I'm nervous now, just because of our quarterback situation. I'm nervous every time Marvis keeps the ball on a read option or is forced out of the pocket and takes off downfield. Super talented kid, but he's wearing a knee brace. And our quarterback situation, and it just makes me nervous. Does it make you nervous? Just say yes and agree with me, because that's the right answer.
Yeah, I mean it does, but at the same time, I mean it is what it is. It's high school football. You roll the dice sometimes. Kids are going to do what there is in their best interest, and unfortunately, it is what it is right now. So, but with that being said, I thought Marvis he needs to learn. To me, he needs to learn to be a smarter runner.
Yeah.
Learn to get upfield, get your yardage, stay close enough to stay out front of the sticks, and get down. Just slide, man. You don't have to take them hits. You're a quarterback. You're not a running back. Now, I was really impressed with Smoke's ability to run between the tackles.
Okay.
It looks like to me Smoke got a little thicker, put on some muscle, looks like. And I thought he pounded the rock really well, power running. Which we hadn't seen from Smoke a whole lot. I mean, yeah, he's run over some guys his own size, but I mean, he was going up against middle linebackers and he was laying into them. So, I mean, Smoke did his thing, and him and Road Dogg, they're just gashing in a rushing attack right now. So honestly, hey, if you don't have to throw the ball to win, just pound it.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of kudos coming in from our commenters. Wesley McDade says, so happy for our new coaching staff and opportunities a new season presents. Absolutely. Wesley, glad to see you on the Carter train. Another one that's on the Carter train is is Cole Moore. Congrats to Adam Carter on his first win. Should get his second one easily this week. Now, Cole, if you would to ask Adam Carter, he would disagree with you in the way you characterized his second win is going to be easy. Now, we're going to play an audio clip from an interview that he did with Marty Rogers from the Viking Voice earlier this week, where he talks about how tough this defense is going to be. This is a totally different team than we saw last year. Why? You know why, Chase? Because they got a new coach and they got a whole lot of move-ins. They got a whole lot of transfers that have hit that team this year, and we're going to see how big their defensive line is.
That's what we're calling it, move-ins.
Move-ins, transfers, whatever you want to call it. In the state of Florida, it's the Wild Wild West. It's anything goes.
Yeah, it's pretty much. Yeah.
Okay, so just to round out our offensive stats, we had in the receiving game a two-headed monster, basically, against Christ School, and that was Jalen Carter and Keelan Hicks. Jalen Carter had 4 receptions, 4 catches for 55 yards. Keelan Hicks had 3 receptions, 60 yards, and a beautiful touchdown from Marvis Parrish.
Yeah, that nice little seam route that he ran. That was pretty.
Yeah. I was glad to see Keelan get that, just because, shake the cobwebs off from that that one he gave up against the Tiff County in the Tiff County preseason scrimmage, the one that just bounced off his hands. I was glad to see Keelan bounce back from that, have a really, really good game. So what I'm hoping to see, Aiden Siva had a catch for 2 yards, just a little out route out there. I'm hoping against Gadsden County that we see other players start to be developed into this passing game. Aiden Sifa. We didn't see Grant Lasky from the tight end position against Christ School. Obviously, again, we didn't have to pass.
One time. He was targeted. He didn't catch it, but he was targeted.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't remember him being targeted, but you very well been right. I don't know.
He was. They ran a little, almost like a post route they lined him up in kind of almost a slot position and ran a little post route with him, and Marvis just kind of put it up, kind of like a jump ball situation. And Lasky made a play for it. Grant really did. He gave it 100%. I believe the linebacker that was covering him held his left arm down, so he couldn't get his left arm up. He tried to reach up one-handed, and it just bounced off.
Oh, yeah. I remember though, in the corner of the end zone. That's right. Okay, so here's our defensive tackling leaders for the week. I mean, there was a lot of kids got a bunch of tackles, but here are the top 3 or 4. You got Coleman Lewis leading the way with 13 total tackles, 1 for loss. You had, I hope I say this last name right, Alvaro
Nope.
Alvaro Munition. I can't. Alvaro, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm getting your name, your last name.
Yeah, don't
butchered. He had total of 9 total tackles. I promise you, by next week, I will know how to pronounce your name. And I think someone gave me a cheat sheet to show me how to pronounce these last names. Okay, so Jaquan Thomas, he's a junior, had 8 total tackles. Cameron Rigdon is a senior, had 11 total tackles, and those were your top tackling leaders for the week. O'Shea Brooks had a tackle for a loss. So anyway, congratulations to all those defensive players, and especially Jaquan Thomas for his defensive player of the week accolades. All right, so let's talk about this game that's coming up. Gadsden County. Now, when I say Gadsden County, everyone is already yawning and saying this is going to be an easy win, right? I mean, that's probably the consensus opinion out there, that this is going to be an easy win for Lowndes, and we're going to celebrate early. We're going to go 2-0. Would you agree with that assessment?
Man, it's a Florida school. No.
I'm not sure what you mean by that, dude.
Dude, it's a Florida school. Look, man, it's just them Florida schools for some reason are just every once in a blue moon they're a world beater. So, I mean, they'll come up, they'll be like an App State going to Florida. I mean, it happens, man. Don't ever count a school out there. Just don't.
That's right. Okay, so here is Here is a little preview from WCTV about Gadsden County and their new head coach. This is what he had to say about him.
High expectations heading into the season. It's a team stacked with talent. And by the way, they're getting their first test this Friday night. Yeah, sure, it's not a real game. It's not going to count towards the record, but boy, is it real competition. Hosting University Christian out of Jacksonville Friday night in preseason action. They're a Final Four team from just a year ago. The Jags, under new leadership in 2023, Russell Ellington moves across the street from Monroe after leading the Bobcats to the Final Four in 2022. Coach calling his defensive line the best in the state, and that offensive line's not too shabby either. Now, he's just ready to see his team line up against someone else for a change.
I want to see what happens when things don't go so well for us at the end of this year. At the end of the day, this summer we've built a lot of positive momentum, and it's been all positive. I want to see what happens when something negative happens. Do we go back to our old habits? Do we continue on the path that we're on? I think they're coached up. Their mentality is awesome, and they're itching to play somebody else. So Friday will be exciting.
That game against UC is in Gadsden.
Okay, so did you hear what that reporter said that coach says about his defensive line?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I mean, I hadn't seen him.
So
but,
he called his defensive line the best defensive line in the state.
Yeah,
that's what he said. Now, that totally goes against typical coach speak, right? A lot of coaches take the Vince Dooley approach and they talk down everything. It's like, yeah, even if we're playing Berrien County, we're going to make them out to be world beaters. Yeah. Man, that defensive line is going to be, they average 6'8", 450 pounds across the board. I don't know how we're going to gain a single. That's coach speak. And we're all used to that. That's not what this coach says. He thinks he's got the best defensive line in the state. Look, now, I thought that might have been a little bit of an exaggeration, but when I heard the interview from Adam Carter, he seems to confirm what their coach is saying in his own words. So look, what are your thoughts on that?
Man, look, for you to say that and you're in the same state with IMG.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I really think you out there somewhere if you think you got a better defensive front than IMG. I mean, I don't know. The IMG is front loaded. They got moving trucks out front. They got moving trucks and bulldozers for defensive linemen. So I don't know. I haven't seen them in person, but I mean, I'm gonna trust Coach Carter. We're gonna ride with Coach Carter till the wheels fall off.
There you go. Well, I just thought whenever a coach says about his own line, it's one thing for a coach to say, listen, we got a lot of size on the defensive front. We've got 3 or 4 guys that really know how to get after a quarterback. I think we're going to have a lot of success shutting down the run this year. But it's a totally different matter for you to say, I got the best defensive line in the state this year. Now, only one or two things can happen. If he inherited a team, because we saw Gadsden County up and close and personal last year, and it wasn't even a close ball game. So for him to go to that where he inherits a team to saying that he's got the best defense. Now, he could be just blowing smoke. I don't know. But it just did catch my attention. Now, Walter Thomas looks like a new viewer that's watching us on our YouTube channel. Guys, just keep in mind, I'm glad Walter put this comment out there. Just keep in mind that we do stream on different platforms, primarily Facebook and YouTube. So we do have the ability to stream to Twitch and others. So if you got a request, we'll look into it. So anyway, Walter, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. He says Gadsden County's defensive line averages 6'3", 295. That's a big defensive line.
It's heavy, but I mean, not necessarily tall.
Okay. 6'3", 295.
Good defensive tackle size.
Yeah. So he's saying it's averaging. I don't know if they run a 3-man front, 4-man front. To me, it doesn't matter. What does matter to me is it really is going to challenge our offensive line. We're going to see at least for several quarters because I don't know what kind of depth that Gadsden have. They're a Florida team. They're used to the heat, unlike Christ School, right? So they're used to the heat. They probably have more players than Christ School, but I don't know what kind of depth they have. So those big old dudes, they're not feeling as good halfway through the third quarter. But early on, especially that first half, how is our offensive line going to handle the size they're going to see on Friday night against Gadsden?
Yeah, you're going to. I honestly think if they're that big, and we're going to have to bring Grant Lasky into that tight end position and just have him on whatever side needs to help the most, because he is a big guy and he's going to be able to slow down some of that pass rush. Buy Marvis a little more time. So yeah, I mean, there's ways to counteract that, but yeah, I mean.
All right, so Jason Anderson, Tierra Battle, they agree with my second sentiment. Tierra just comes right out and says, "This is what I like about Tierra. She doesn't mince her words. She says, she says, yeah, gummit, she says, I think he's blowing smoke."
Yeah.
Jason Anderson agrees with him. Maybe he is. Walter Thomas is, I think he's agreeing with me. He's like, their defensive line averages 6'3", 295 across the board. But the reason I bring this up is I think we have a really, really good offensive line. We've got, for the first time in a number of years, we've got consistent size across the offensive line. Right? I think everybody would agree with me. Yeah. Especially Hayden Williams and Daniel Jones anchoring those ends, those tackles. And we got a couple of guys in that center part of that line. This could be a defining game for them, especially if they're facing now. Carter, in his interview, Chase said this might be the biggest defensive line that we face this year. So if we set the tone early and we start assuming the role of road grazer early, right? I think this could give that offensive line a lot of success. Not success, but a lot of confidence for the rest of the season, especially going into the Grayson game in a few weeks. Yeah, Grayson's going to have some big boys too.
Yeah, and I wish our offensive line was watching, and I hope that they are, because I would issue this challenge to them. For a long time, Lowndes proud, and we pride ourselves in the ability to run football. We pride ourselves. We were proud fan base of the Mayflower Moving Company.
Yeah.
Those big hog mollies for those 3 or 4 years there, they just move mountains. I mean, it didn't matter. But I would issue a challenge to this young offense, this new offensive line that is coming up. Take pride in what you do. You may not get all the glory, but I promise you, there isn't a single point scored, there isn't a single pass completed, and there isn't a single yard gained by any running back that you aren't responsible for.
Yeah. So someone just asked the question. Let's see. Robert Lindsay says, "What's our size on the offensive line?" Before I answer that question, guys, we're approaching the 30-minute mark where we've got about half an hour left in the show. So maybe even less, depending on how quickly we get through these next couple of topics. And that is, if you want to go ahead and enter for your chance to win those couple of T-shirts, go ahead and enter into the comments now. If you haven't done so, if you already have, you only get one entry. The software is smart enough where it only picks out one of your entries. But if you haven't entered yet, to enter, go ahead and put in the comments #OneLounge. You see it right there on the screen. You spell it one word, no spaces. Doesn't matter if you capitalize the letters or not. Just don't have any spaces in there. Okay, so we got a pretty good number of entries in there. Okay, so to answer the question of Robert Lindsay, what's the size of our offensive line? You got number 57, DJ Jones. He's a senior. He's 260 pounds. 58 is a senior, Josh Hill. He is 250 pounds. Francisco Paz, he is 227 pounds. He's the center. Benjamin Corhay, he's a sophomore, so that's good. He's got a number of years left with us. So he is 280 pounds. Hayden Williams, I swear Hayden Williams looks bigger than this, but he's listed at 244 pounds.
Jeez,
So what's that now?
He looks way bigger than 200.
He looks way bigger than, he looks like he's 280 pounds. I swear he looks 280.
Like he looks like a mountain out there.
Yeah, but anyway, he's listed officially as 244, and this has got to be incorrect because he's taller than 6 foot. I don't. This just doesn't look right. We've got him listed as 6 foot, 244 pounds. He's definitely taller than 6 foot, and he looks like he's bigger. But anyway, that's his official listing on the roster. So anyway, Robert, that's the answer to your question. So we've got size, but we're undersized compared to this behemoth defensive line for Gadsden County. Does it sound like I'm talking up Gadsden County? No, I'm just talking up their defensive line. Their defensive line is probably the heart of their team right now. Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. Okay, so it's going to test our running game. So one thing I got out of Carter was I don't know if this is a theme this year, but I heard him in this interview say, we're going to pound early. This is just me paraphrasing what he said. We're going to pound them early. We're going to wear them down, and then we're going to pull away. We certainly did that against Christ School. So if that's the game plan against Gadsden County, that very well may be a theme that we see over and over again throughout the rest of the season. But he also went on to say, we've got to get off to a fast start against this Gadsden team. That indicates to me that if they keep it close, Chase, if they keep it close going late into the third quarter, I think he's concerned. I really do. And so that's why I'm not totally discounting Gadsden's new head coach when he says about their defense. I don't totally discount that to blowing smoke. So anyway, that might be me overanalyzing what everybody says. When people say something, I just believe them.
That's all right, though, because if he's blowing smoke, he's going to get a good dose of smoke come Friday night.
It very well could be that, they have such a big defensive line. If they shut the run game down early, we may see this passing game get kicked up pretty quick.
Yeah. Don Bailey will have an answer, I do believe. He came from the college ranks, so yeah, he definitely knows what he's doing. So yeah, hey, you got to have an answer. You got to have a, if this happens, if they take this away, what do I do? You got to have that. You got to have that play call on your sheet, and you got to have that go-to play whenever the chips are stacked against you. So I'm sure they'll have it figured out. I've got faith in Adam Carter and his staff, and Anders will have that defense ready to fly around the football.
Absolutely. Okay, man. So speaking of Carter, let's talk about. Let me go ahead and play this this clip of this interview. Again, this is with Marty Rogers and the Viking Voice, and it's just a couple of minutes about him talking about specifically this game coming up with Gadsden County. So listen to this. And hey, Chase, when you hear this, when I play this, give me a thumbs up. Make sure everybody can hear it. Okay.
Gadsden County, and what have you seen out of them on film? I kind of been saying it all week. The Gadsden County team that rolled in last year is not the Gadsden County team that's about to roll in. They got a new coaching staff. They have about 10 or 12 new move-ins that we're going to be starting for them. So they're going to look different. It's a different offense.
Did you hear him say that? 10 to 12 move-ins?
Yeah.
There's nothing going to be the same. I don't know if there's.
This is just a little audio.
And their scrimmage that was started in the game against Lowndes last year. So totally different team. They are big. They will be they'll be probably the largest defensive line we see all year. All four of them, I think all four of them have Power 5. I think all four of them have Florida State offers. Their right tackle's got Florida State offers. And so they are really, really talented. This coach has been able to get some kids in. He's able to get some coaches in, and so they're going to look a lot different. Well, that's a great test, and I hear you talking about that D-line already. I think that sounds like another challenge to our offensive line. For sure. I listened to Coach Rogers talk about them today when we left practice, talking to our offensive line about them. And so, they're going to be talented, but we got a plan. And, we got a plan. We just got to go out and hopefully improve from last week. We've talked about that. We just got to keep getting better at what we do. And don't worry about who we're playing. Go out there, play our game, do what we're asked to do. Win on special teams, be disciplined. Felt like we handled that pretty well last week. As far as that goes, with penalties and those kind of things, right? So we do those things. We just play better football and kind of pound on them early on, and we'll get them dudes tired. And then in the second half, we'll try to finish them in the second half. So that's kind of the plan. We'll see what happens. It never goes as planned, right? But offensively, we got our work cut out for us. Defensively, rather, for them on offense, they've got a couple of big time. Good. Their left tackle is 6'3", 330. And so they're going to be big. They're going to be physical. We've got to be able to match that and come out and play fast early. I think against teams like that coming into our place, they're going to be pumped because everybody gets pumped to come to the concrete class and see all the noise we're making, see all our.
Yeah, so it doesn't sound like Coach Carter thinks that this other guy's blowing smoke.
No, I really don't. It seems like Coach may be on to something, but I'm just glad we're clarifying as to what we're calling those guys now. So my understanding is we're now calling them move-ins.
Move-ins.
I'm just getting clarification just ahead of the schedule.
I understand.
Because I'm just wondering what Atlanta's going to call them. The North Georgia teams. So. When they start calling them move-ins, we'll know what you're talking about. But yeah,
Jason Anderson. Jason is, I think, he is like my favorite heckler of all time. Jason says they're both blowing smoke.
Oh Lord. Jason, yeah, maybe. But like I said, he may be blowing smoke, but hey, he gonna get a good dose of it Friday night. So I tell you what. But anyways, I think, schools, their kids appear out of nowhere sometimes. But hey, I guess it remains to be seen. This is the first I'm hearing about this big, huge defensive line and all these Florida State offers. And I'm a Florida State guy, Larry, and I ain't really heard no noise out of no Gadsden County players. So I'm just saying.
Well, since you're a Florida State guy, if they come up here and perform well, you might become a Gadsden County Jaguar fan.
I still won't become no Gadsden County fan, but hey, maybe Norvell's on to something. I don't know.
Okay, so as we wind things down, with this win against Christ School this past week, Lowndes now starts to crack the official state rankings in the composite poll. Entering the season last week, did it surprise you that Lowndes was unranked in any poll last week?
Nope.
Okay. I don't think that surprised anyone, especially after the season that we had last year. Okay. So we started the season unranked, but this week we enter the top 13, 14. We're tied for 13 with Collins Hill. Both of us, Collins Hill actually fell in the rankings. They're 0-1 now. Lowndes is 1-0, but we're in the composite rankings because there's one poll that picked us up, and that's 680 The Fan, a big radio station, sports station out of Atlanta.
Yeah,
they have us ranked as number 10, and when you average everything out across all the different polls, Lowndes now enters the composite poll at 13. Now, I don't think it surprises anybody that Buford is still number 1 in 7A.
Nope. They
had a very impressive win against a national powerhouse in St. Francis out of Maryland. Okay, it was an 18-0 shutout. Dylan Riola looked pretty good, as we all expected him to look. So now if they get that passing game cranked up with that traditional Buford run game, they could be really, really hard to stop. But so far, they're 1-0. Colquitt County, very impressive win against Dutch Fork. They're 1-0. Walton had a pretty good, impressive win. They come in this week ranked number 3. They took out Grayson in the first game of the season. Grayson is 0-1. So Walton is number 3. Mill Creek is number 4. Carrollton 5. Milton 6. Westlake 7. Parkview 8. Norcross 9. Grayson is number 10. They fall to number 10. North Cobb and Brookwood are tied at 11th. And Lowndes and Collin Hill rounds out the composite ranking. They're tied for 13th. So anyway, so those are the rankings this week. Gadsden County enters this game unranked. So now, given the ranking that we had based on the game that we played against Christ School, you and I took a stab at how we thought we would end the season as far as the regular season record goes. Okay. I gave my prediction. Our performance against Christ School, did it change your opinion at all on the team, either for the better or for the worst?
No. I still think we are competing with Valdosta for second in the region.
Yeah.
I think Colquitt wins the region pretty much, barring any drastic development. I think Colquitt's the best team in the region. And I mean, it sickens me to say that. It really does.
I think that's reality right now.
But yeah, I mean, as a football fan, you've got to be realistic at times. And realistically, Colquitt's the best team in the region right now. They, like I said, they pretty much score at will. That offense can move when it wants to. And I mean, even if Lowndes, let's say Lowndes makes a deep playoff run. Let's say Colquitt makes a deep playoff run. At this point, we all know where the road's going. So, yeah. If you have any what's the word I'm looking for, Larry? Any dreams and visions of hoisting that state championship trophy, just know that all them roads lead to Buford right now.
Listen, I've already told JD Sellers, our wide receivers coach, that after Lowndes lifts up that state championship trophy at the end of the season, I'm going to take him out for a round of golf here at Stone Creek. So that's the deal that we have. That's the deal that we have.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's a good deal. I'll come drive a golf cart for you, man. I mean, that's about all I can offer there.
All right, let's check in with the White Oak Investment comment line. Wilbur Pelfrey says, Florida is the wild, wild west. As far as we're going to use the word, we're going to substitute a word here. Okay. Chase's new favorite word. Florida is the wild, wild west on move-ins.
Yes.
Their rules are different down there.
Yes.
Travis Hart says, how about that Langston Hughes beating of Carrollton? Yeah, that was an impressive win by Hughes. Greg Maddox says, I think he's talking about Gadsden County. He says they were 2-8 last year. Greg, that's why Adam Carter really went out of his way to say, if you remember that team, this is not this team from last year. No. That's why he went out of his way to say they've got 12 move-ins. That's going to make a big difference in this game. So I don't see them as a 2-8 team this year. They could be, but I don't see it given the talent that has moved into that county. Now, DeJuno Bland is predicting Lowndes finishes up at 6-4 in the regular season. Travis Hart says he thinks it's an 8-2 campaign. That's his prediction. Tierra Battle says, I think we end up 8-2 at worst. Oh, look at this. And 9-1 at best in the regular season. Our hardest games are winnable, except maybe Colquitt. So Tierra says, in her best case scenario, we still lose to Colquitt County. Is that what you're saying, Tierra? Tierra, thanks for that vote of confidence. No, I'm kidding.
I'm 100% with her on that one.
You're with her on that one.
Yep. I think 9-1 is it. Just because of what we're up against with Colquitt, man. I think our boys are talented. LG, we were there last year. That bunch is scary fast.
I'm going to tell you and Tierra and anyone else that wants to listen, Lowndes will beat Valdosta and Colquitt this year.
Woo!
I'm just telling you, mark it down. Write it down.
Valdosta, yes. We're going look, here's the thing. Valdosta caught us slipping last year a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it happens. We was sleepwalking down the alleyway, and Valdosta sort of snuck up behind us, knocked us in the back of the head, and took our wallet.
Oh man, we were punch drunk on chaos last year.
Yeah,
That's what happened last year.
I was trying to be nice, LG. But yeah, man, we were having an argument with the spouse while we were walking down the alleyway. You know, came up behind us, just bam. It is what it is. But we fixing going to Death Valley, and we're gonna take that win streak back, and we're gonna start it all back over at 1. And y'all gonna win 1 in 12 years.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so Tierra Battle. I hope all of your equipment is struck by lightning after that comment. Tierra says, I'll screen record this portion once it archives and send it back to you if it doesn't happen.
Yes.
You guys mark it down. Mark it down. Spread the word. Type it.
Hey, wait a minute.
Send it to Colquitt County so they can use it as bulletin board material.
Hey, which fan wasn't it Travis Hart that talking about something, write it down, stamp it or something earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah, Travis, write this one down. LG predicted on this date that Lowndes is beating Colquitt and Valdosta this year.
You guys got to remember, it's easy for me to say this because I'm just a guy behind the microphone. Those poor kids are going to have to get it done. They're going to have to write checks that my mouth is cashing. Oh, no. They have to cash checks that my mouth is writing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, do I think they can beat Colquitt? Yes. But it's going to take all of them. It's going to take every last one of them. Not a single player out there can be about himself on that night.
Absolutely. Listen, in 7A, every single week, when you play these big boys, whether it's Buford, Colquitt, Carrollton, we're going to have to beat some of these teams if we're going to be a state champion again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in order to beat these teams, you have to first believe that you can beat these teams. If you are a player on that team going into a Colquitt County game and thinking, well, maybe we can win, or they're just too fast, I guarantee you one thing, we ain't winning that game.
No.
So belief has to start now, whether it's with our fan base, our players, our coaches, our great grandkids that have yet to be born. Everybody has to start believing now.
Look, there was a lot of people on this show last year, Larry. I don't know if you remember. Well, we did the show the night before the night before the Grayson game.
Yeah.
I caught a lot of flack for saying Lowndes was going to beat Grayson.
Yeah.
I
did.
You
did. Yeah.
And Grayson walked in here, and what did Lowndes do? Say, here you go.
That's right.
But so, I mean, hey, he could, you know what? As a matter of fact, you know what? Lowndes could possibly beat Colquitt, and they may do it. And you know what? I hope they do it on the foot of that little kicker.
That's right.
I believe that kicker's got one heck of a leg that nobody has seen yet.
Yeah.
So I honestly, I hope they put it on the leg of the kicker, and it comes down to like a time expiring field goal, so we can just watch all the color and all the hope and all the just pure joy just rush out of every Colquitt County fan's face just across the way.
Yeah. Chase, I remember the days, I call it swagger, the Lowndes swagger. I remember the days back in 04, 05, 07, and a few years after that. Even that year that we went, when Max last year, we went to state championship against Mary. We had that swagger that year where we walked on the field knowing we were going to win that game. Whatever it took, we knew we were going to win that game. Some people call it arrogance. Some people call it cockiness. I call it confidence. And in order to win a state championship team, every man on that field has got to be confident they're going to win this game before they even start practicing for the week.
Yes, I agree. And that Lowndes swagger, as we called it, we had the Muhammad Ali mentality. We were going to tell you how we were going to beat you, and then we were going to step on the field and we were going to beat you just like that.
Yeah.
And that was what we done for 4 quarters. We just punched you in the mouth over and over and over and over. And there was nothing you could do about it but sit there and take it.
Yeah.
And that's what we got to get back to. We got to get back to that big physical, just I mean, just manhandling, just throwing people around, and just imposing our will, as they call it. And you got to be able to do it for 4 quarters. You can't walk in there and do it for a quarter and expect that to mean something. You got to do it for 4 quarters. I promise you, if you go out there and you lay it all on the line for 4 quarters every Friday night, I promise you at the end of the season, you'll be more victorious than you think you can be.
Yeah. So I don't know. Chase, honestly, man, some people hear me saying these things tonight, think I'm kidding, or if I'm just too cocky or too arrogant, whatever. Maybe it's a character flaw. I don't know. Years and years ago, when I was a small kid, my mom convinced me, because she told me over and over and over again, she said, Larry, you can do anything. And I mean anything that you put your mind to it.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually had the audacity to believe her. So to this day, I am probably one of the most, I don't want to say arrogant, one of the most confident / cocky guys that you will ever meet, because I believe in our team. I believe in our organization as the Viking Nation. I believe in our community. I believe in our fan base. So, mark me down as a cocky guy. I just believe in what we do.
I believe in the fan base 1,000%, because let me tell you something. If you get us all riled up at one time, you're going to have a situation on your hands real quick.
That's right.
Don't believe me? Ask some officials that want to blow whistles at the Georgia Bridgman on Friday night.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So listen, as a side note, I'm not going to talk about it in detail on this show, but you'll be hearing about this a lot in the coming weeks and months, as far as our community goes. So we've got some big plans and big ideas for this community, and you'll be hearing a lot more about that in the coming weeks and months, as far as me getting a little bit more involved in our community. So I'll spare you the details tonight, but be on the lookout for that stuff that's coming. So anyway,
don't be.
All right, Chase, we got to shut it down for the night.
Don't let me asking me what Larry's got going on, because I don't know, and I ain't gonna tell you nothing.
So anyway, last thing that I'll say tonight: go Vikings. Well, let's close it down, man, because I'm hungry. My wife has poked her head in this door. It's like, are you going to eat this barbecue sandwich I got her or not? So anyway, guys, with that said, thank you so much, one, for showing up in mass to the Georgia Carolina Challenge last week over in Colquitt County. Two, tomorrow night will be our first home game of the season. So let's show out and pack the Concrete Palace tomorrow night. Let's just paint that thing crimson and white with bodies everywhere and welcome the Gadsden County, Florida Jaguars. The Georgia Bridgemen will be there in force. They'll be doing their first halftime show of the year. So when halftime rolls around, don't automatically get up and go to the bathroom, get something to drink, something to eat, whatever. Watch those kids give an excellent performance on the field, because you know what? They practiced in this heat just like the football team did all summer long. So let's stand to our feet, give them the attention they deserve. And as always, may God bless you guys and have a great weekend. And as always, go Vikings. Oh, Chase, come on back. Do you know why? This never happens. But I forgot to do the giveaway. Oh. So I played that outro song. It's like, oh crap, we forgot to do it. So I never ever stop the outro, but for this night, we're going to stop the outro and actually do the giveaway. So my bad, guys. This is the second week of the season. You guys got to forgive me for that. So let's go ahead.
Difficulties. Okay.
Exactly right. My mom would have never let me live that down. She would have said, you forgot the giveaway. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and do this giveaway. Good luck to everybody. And we have Candace Marie.
Yes.
Candace Marie. If she is still watching, congratulations, Candace. I will see you at the stadium tomorrow night with your t-shirts, and I will contact you afterwards to get your sizes. Hopefully, I'll have the right sizes for you. If not, we'll come as close as we can, and you can give them to whoever you want to that shirts will fit. So now, with that said, y'all have a good night. God bless, and go Vikings.